For the last 10 years, I've been researching fly ash and power plant issues because I live in a community that's home to 2 power plants. And we would ask questions about our safety, and the DEP would come to us and they would say that fly ash was completely safe, and it was based on 30 years worth of data. But unfortunately, if you look very closely, you see that the data they're using is industry-derived data, and it's based on people or companies with a vested interest in making sure fly ash looks safe. But as unfortunate luck would have it, last January, a massive landslide of fly ash came into a neighborhood in Forward Township. And we scooped up a sample of the fly ash and we had it tested independently. And our test results revealed, and later DEP's test results confirmed, that there are alarmingly high levels of arsenic and other heavy metals, very toxic things. And for example, in Forward Township, the fly ash revealed there was an arsenic level 7 times the allowable limit by the federal government. And the DEP and industry like to tell people that it's safe, but we believe that that one sample in Forward Township actually pierced the vacuum that they were operating in. There was no independent oversight, and the test results were always based on parameters that were geared to making sure the fly ash looked safe. When we did our independent testing, we found something completely different.
Have you noticed any changes in your environment since the power plant has been there?
Well, the power plant has been there for almost 50 years, and I'm a community advocate, and I've been working with some people who live just under the stacks, and they say that it has been like that. The promises were made, similar to the promises I hear being made here in Robinson Township, and they're saying it'll be completely safe, nothing will happen, it'll create jobs. But unfortunately, 50 years later, most of the jobs are not people from the community. In fact, there are major health concerns down there. There's ongoing issues. The debris that comes out of the stacks falls on the people's homes. It damages their aluminum siding. It damages the paint surfaces of their cars. And the industry will say, well, you know, that's the cost of doing business. But the unfortunate thing is that we, as a community, and possibly you as a community, will bear 100% of the health burdens. Most of the power that's generated at the coal-fired plants in Pennsylvania go outside of Pennsylvania. I understand that the second largest import in Pennsylvania is electric power. So that's a great thing for the companies that are generating the power, but for the communities who are bearing the health burdens, we live with air pollution, damaging our lungs, our children's lungs. My community has one of the highest asthma rates in the state. And the fly ash is then taken out of the back of the power plant and put on the ground with no liners and no water monitoring. And if you have well water, you should be concerned, because it has been seen in other parts of the state and the country where the fly ash and the metals in it leach into groundwater, and it damages drinking water for communities. And Cap and Trade is a national program, and I'm giving you the very simplified version, but what it means is, in my community, for example, Reliant Energy owns one of the power plants. Now, Reliant Energy is a national company. So if Western Pennsylvania has older plants, which it does, and it's harder to bring them into compliance, then they're allowed to pollute there if they clean up a neighborhood in Virginia or Maine or North Carolina. Now, as a person who lives in a community that's bearing those health burdens, I raise a real simple question. You know, our Constitution and our government is supposed to protect us equally under the law. And so why is our health being sacrificed so that a company can make money, where another community's health must be ranked higher or a higher priority? I don't think that's fair. I think each community should be given the same amount of protection. And my family roots are in Homestead, Pennsylvania. I am very proud of our industrial heritage in Western Pennsylvania. I really believe that our coal and our steel has literally built America. But the problem that I see is the industries that are now working in our communities have forgotten how to be loyal to the members of the community. And they're asking for laws to be rewritten to protect their money and not to protect health. I believe that we can have both. I think companies will tell you you have to have safety and environmental protections or economic development. I think protecting people's health is part of economic development. I believe you have to have safe neighborhoods, or what company is going to want to relocate to Western Pennsylvania?
Do you have any suggestions to a more environmentally safe way to remove the god pile?
Well, I'm not a scientist, but I have been working with some scientists, and I've asked that very same question. And what they tell me is that, yes, the gob pile does represent a sin of the past coal mining era. However, the leaching that's coming off the POW and the fire, yes, they are real hazards, but there are other ways that can address those problems. And again, not being a scientist, but I have heard that you can do a certain amount of grading. You can change the configuration of the pile. You can use topsoil and seeding to make sure that you're safely reshifting or redistributing the way that the pile is laying on the land. I'm very concerned with the fact that if you try to take the gob pile out of there and you're basically taking a sin that was left and you're going to build a new power plant and create fly ash, I believe that you're taking a sin and you're making it an environmental catastrophe. And what I mean by that is if you take the gob pile and you remove it and you put it into a power plant, you're going to build a new major source of pollution in western Pennsylvania. Now, Pennsylvania already loses more residents prematurely each year, almost 2,600 each year, to air pollution deaths related to power plants. That's heart and lung disease and cancer. This has been documented by the American Lung Association, the Cancer Society. It's been well documented that there's a direct link between emissions from power plants and heart and lung disease. Now, if we already have the second highest mortality rate in the United States from air pollution from power plants, why on earth do we need another power plant? I believe we should be forcing the power plants that exist today to clean up, and they can modernize in a way that reduces their emissions. But I feel that the state and federal regulators who are supposed to be doing that job are more concerned with economic development. Now, we have divisions of our government that deal with economic development. That's not the role of the DEP or the EPA. They're the environmental protection agencies. I believe those two entities should be requiring cleanups instead of building new power plants. And then, if we reach a point where everybody's in compliance and we need the new electricity, great. I think it would be a great thing. But for now, I think we're adding more catastrophe to an already dangerous and deadly situation. You know, in the 10 years that I've been doing this, we have been fortunate enough to meet some environmental groups from around the country, and they have been very generous, and they've shared some funding with us. And we've actually had independent scientists look at our power plants, look at our landfills for fly ash, and look at the issue in general. And we've gone to the Pennsylvania DEP file room on numerous occasions, and we've gathered their own data, which clearly shows there is groundwater and surface water contamination from fly ash. Already here in my community, in Greene County, in Forward Township, there are problems with fly ash. But the DEP, in my opinion, is ignoring that fact. If they're coming to me and to my community and to your community, and they're saying that they've completely tested fly ash, I don't believe they're looking in their own files. I truly believe if the Pennsylvania DEP looked in their own files, they would see the evidence that clearly supports our concerns. Now, this is the other point that I really want to make. In 10 years, we have diligently worked to gather independent science, sometimes spending our own money to get it. And we bring that information to the DEP, and they give us the impression that we're wrong 100% of the time. That is statistically impossible. After 10 years, there has to be something that we and our independent experts have uncovered that has merit. I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day. We have to be right on something, but they dismiss everything we bring. So I really feel it's important that we need independent oversight on this decision making, and we need more medical and scientific involvement. The DEP will come to a community like yours, they came to mine, and they'll say, trust us, we've done the research. I think citizens need to start asking, show us the research. Who did it? Was it self-policed by the power plants? Because that's what we've seen. I've gone to the file room, and when there's testing, the power plant tests their own waste. Do you really think that they're going to say, oh, by the way, we think we're polluting? They're not going to say that. So we need more police on the beat, and I mean environmental police, looking at things, being objective, taking the facts and figures, and making sound decisions based on what is right, not what's in the best interest of the profits of a company. As a resident living near two power plants and dealing with people who have lived with the illnesses and the property damage that comes out of the stack and it lays on their property. You know, I hear company officials and I hear DEP saying we're going to get the best available technology and we guarantee there's never going to be any harm to human health. I've heard that here in your community and I've heard it in mine. I'd like to see them put that in writing. I really would. I challenge them to put that in writing, because in all of the research that's been done by major organizations, there are definite health hazards that are associated with power plants in the air, in the water, and on the land when they place that ash. I don't believe they can guarantee that. And I don't think a community should move forward in that until they know for certain that it can be guaranteed. I don't see it. I've never seen it. And if they have that proof, and if they're willing to sign a paper, I think they should step forward and do that.